to discuss economic philosophy.
Yes, that's right.
When your pantry's empty, it's not time to talk about economics. When you got a pink slip, that's not time to talk economics. And can I throw a little pastoral note in here? When your ship seems to be sinking, don't go get counsel from somebody whose ship just sunk.
Preach up in here.
When you feel like your ship's sinking, your marriage is in trouble. Guess who they run to? Folks just got a divorce. I need somebody that can understand you. Nothing can understand you in court. That's what they don't understand. You go find somebody who's got a marriage for 30 years and ask them how they kept it. That's what you go do. When you're broke, you don't go to somebody else broke and ask them how to be broke. You go to somebody who's got some money and ask them how they're doing it. That's how you do it. I got millionaires in my life. I'm not one, but I hang out with some millionaires. I'm not after the money. I'm talking about the mindset. It's about your mind, your mind, your mind. You see, some of you got delivered from drugs, but you never got delivered from a pattern of thinking. And as a man thinketh, so is he. You may not be on drugs anymore, but you're still dependent.
Amen.
And so we've got to come today and realize that there's this place of our faith that we've got to step into, and we trust God. You see, when you're in this place of trouble, you've already determined in your heart that everybody else in the world is living in supply, and you're the only one that God ever created in demand. God's taking care of everybody else in the church but me. Now, I know y'all don't think like that up here in Uriah, but folks in Pensacola think like that. I mean, they'll dance a hole in that carpet up there on Sunday morning while everything's going wonderful, but let something go south. Dear God in heaven. They, some of them, not these. These is my soldiers up there. They some just think, you just think like everybody in their family died and God turned his back on one person on this earth, and that was them. Just so. But you see, this little widow woman, her problem was not her food. It was her faith. Her faith. It went on vacation. You see, your faith goes on vacation when you begin to look at what you don't have. Faith is hard to come by when you're one step from death. That's right. Faith is hard to find when your wallet's empty and your mailbox is full of bills. Faith is hard to grab hold of when the doctors shake their heads and buzzards fly over you waiting for you to die. Faith is easy when the sun is shining on your side of the street. Faith is easy when you've got the world in a jug and hold the stopper in your hand. Faith is easy when your wallet's full and you've got 6 figures in the bank. Faith is easy when you left a $100,000 home and a $50,000 vehicle and got on a $500 suit. Everything's going all right now. Faith is easy when you left the comfort to come to church, knowing that you're going to leave and go to a fine restaurant and eat a nice meal. Faith is easy to walk through when you're in those times. Yet many of those same people do not have faith to see a supernatural move of God. We've got to come and realize that faith is expectation. Faith is the substance of things hoped for with the evidence of things not yet seen. I teach my church, what is faith? Faith is my hope list. What are you hoping for today? Whatever it is, that's your faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Come on, son. Come on.
So when people ask me, what is faith? What you're hoping for. Can't argue it, it's right there. Faith is my hope. The substance of things hoping for. I'm hoping for a bigger building for my church. I'm hoping for my son's complete and total healing. I'm hoping, my faith is my hope list. And as long as I've got a hope list, I'm walking in faith. As long as I'm walking in faith, I'm pleasing God. And if I'm pleasing God, I have the favor and blessing of God in my life. Faith is expectation, believing something is going to happen. Sister Vicki shared it down there. I was like, just give her the notes and let her preach. Hope. 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 By the way, if I can throw this in, they don't even know this yet, but next month we are installing Sister Vicki as the assistant pastor at our church. All right. Faith is expectation. Believing something is going to happen. Energy in action. You see, when we step into this, all of a sudden we begin to see the supernatural take place. They told us, if you'll give me 5 minutes, they told us The night of my son's accident, his sister's sitting up there somewhere. They're Vietnamese. We've had them for 13 years in our family.
Come on.
We brought them in for what was supposed to be 30 days, and they never left 13 years ago. Can't get rid of them. It was supposed to be 30 days. They went through a horrible tragedy. Their mother, little brother, little sister were stabbed to death. They saw it all. Cindy was stabbed 4 times but lived. Tommy hid under a bed. Great tragedy that took place in their life. They were Buddhist. They worship Buddha. Today they worship Jehovah.
All right now. Hallelujah.
On November the 24th, I'm talking about your hope. On November the 24th, Tommy was in a motorcycle accident. He died on the scene. He bled to death. His brain sheared and split in half down to the brain stem. Massive brain damage. Right side of his face was completely crushed, phase 3. There's a nurse over there that went through it all at our church. His face literally split in half on the inside. His face was totally crushed. They said they would have to totally rebuild it and do 4 to 6 plastic surgeries to fix it. They haven't done one procedure on his face, and look at him today. That doctor called us in. I was on a hunting trip. I got there. There was 100, 150 people in the waiting room all over the hallways. Cindy was in there. She's already lost her brother. Their father came back in their life in 2008, died months later of cancer. All their biological family's gone. It's us. They're stuck with us whether they want us or not. So we got them. We let them go. I don't have 2 Vietnamese children, 2 biological children. I got 4 children. And so I was in there and I came in that room with my wife and Cindy and I sat there and that doctor looked at all 3 of us and said there is absolutely 0 chance that this young man will live through the night. The damage, 9 different injuries that he has sustained. His arteries were ripped out of his heart. He bled to death on the scene. Am I telling the truth? I mean, massive brain damage, blood pouring everywhere. I mean, it was just a mess. He said there's absolutely no chance he's going to live through the night. But God spoke a word in my heart in that room. It's on this prayer mat. It's called Psalms 118:17. I shall not die, but I shall live and declare the work of my Lord. 2 weeks before that accident, Tommy texted me a long text and said, Pastor Dan, I feel like God's calling me into full-time ministry and I want to know will you start mentoring me for ministry. Not knowing that 2 weeks later, he was going to be laying on deathbed. But what God was doing was setting the platform. See, the devil had nothing to do with his accident. You know, I don't believe that. And where's the sovereignty of God? I don't believe the God that I serve is so weak and broke that he's got to go behind the devil sweeping up the devil. But he can't stop. I don't believe that. Well, you got to show me something in the Bible. Okay, follow me. I see a young boy called Joseph. I see where God put his finger on him.
Come on now.
He put him in a pit, sold by his brother. He had him falsely accused of rape. He had him spend years in a prison.
Jesus. Yes, Lord.
All was part of a sovereign journey.
Jesus.
To get him in a position to release a nation of people into freedom. It was the sovereignty of God. That's why we misquote a scripture. We say what the devil meant for evil, God meant for good. It's not even in the Bible. Joseph said to his brothers what you meant for evil, God meant for good. This whole journey has been God's plan for my life. Some of you need to get that in your spirit today. You've been over here talking to the devil, blaming the devil for a journey that God put you on.
Jesus.
You're missing your destiny and your purpose.
Thank you, Lord God.
You're over here fussing at God what you don't have, don't possess, and can't do. When you're not realizing that God stuck you where you are. God put you where you're living. God gave you the mind
Thank
that
you,
got.
Lord.
God gave you the body you've got.
Thank
God
you, Lord.
gave you the spirit you've got. God gave you the talents you've got. God's got you working right where you're working.
Thank you, Lord God.
You're fussing to God about not wanting it while there's a million people out there would die for it.
Lord, I thank you.
We've got to come back, but I sit there. He won't live. Next day, he won't live. 24 days. They told us he won't live. He won't make it through the next day. He's in a coma. 32 units of blood he bled out in a week. Through his brain, stomach, both lungs collapsed. Everything was gone. But we had a word. I shall not die. They would come and tell us he's not going to make it, Reverend. He won't make it through the night. my wife and I, and these great church folks that stood like pillars with us, and people around the country, we would just say, we're taking our son home. That's what we say. We're taking our son home. I know what medicine says, but we're taking our son home.
That's it.
On December the 17th, doctor pulled me into a room. He said, Reverend Livingston, I understand you're a man of faith, but you've got to deal with reality, sir. You've got to deal with reality. My son was not responding medically to anything they did, but when we would go in and pray with him, this side was crushed. The tears would pour out of this eye. They said, that's not a medical response, that's a reaction. I said, you call it whatever you I'm not unplugging nothing when he's crying, when I'm talking to him. Brother, we'd go in there and start singing about Jesus, and the heart machine would go off the chart. I mean, it'd send off an alarm. His heart rate would go so high when worship started. And they're saying, he's dead, you need to unplug him. We ain't unplugging nothing. We ain't unplugging nothing.
Amen. Preach.
That doctor said, you've got no choice, Pastor. You either got to, after Christmas, you've got to unplug him or take him somewhere else. And I said, I'm taking my son home. December the 18th, the next morning, the same doctor. I'm going to quit and let y'all go.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You don't know what you're saying.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to wrap up. I'm sorry, I'm being so discombobulated.
You preaching.
That doctor walked in. He said, Reverend, you got to do something. I said, I am. I'm taking my son home. The next morning, that same doctor walked by Tommy's bed. He said he laid there in the coma. He said, I just said, what the heck, was his words. He walked over and pinched Tommy on the chest, and Tommy reached up and grabbed his He got me and my wife outside. He said, y'all need to come here, we need to talk. And he said, I don't know what happened, but somewhere between last night and this morning, his brain has started to wake up. We don't know if it'll be a permanent or temporary thing. I promised him nothing. I said, I don't think we're taking him home. But then they said, but sir, one thing we do know, whatever days he has left, he will be on a ventilator the rest of his life, and he will be a vegetable. And my son, who's 23, had just preached at my church the week before on Selah. Powerful message. Selah, where we put a period, God puts a comma. More to come.
Come on, son.
And when they said he'll be a vegetable on life support for the rest of his life, the nurse said, period. And that period took me back to the message my son had just preached. And I said, no. I said, where you put a period, my God puts a comma. There's more to come. 3 days later, he was off the ventilator, never been on it since. 2 weeks later, he was eating mashed potatoes in his bed.